K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is the Liz Harrison Show.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm Liz Harrison. Thank you for listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio. And also thank you if you're catching us on the late side over on K98talk.com. It's been an interesting day. Thursday, January 15th. Woke up this morning to the headlines, the Tsarnaev attorneys. Delay. Of course, the judge isn't letting them. But I had to be amused. Christian Science Monitor. Judge denies motion to suspend Tsarnaev trial over Charlie Hebdo. Really? They're worried about comparisons between what happened there and dear old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Really? This is fun. Really. It seriously is a lot of fun. I'm being very facetious there. We have waited long enough, I think. I understand the attorneys are trying to do their jobs. They're trying to mitigate the circumstances, but honestly, I'm wondering if this is all going to be a backfire on them. The dragging of the feet. They're using every opportunity they possibly can to drag this out. That alone, never mind any attitudes that individuals who end up on this jury may have had on the situation. That dragging everything out thing, that's gotta hurt. I'm sorry, it really should. And kudos to U.S. District Judge George O'Toole for not buying into this. And that poor judge is reading over or about 1,300 responses to a survey questionnaire from potential jurors. I'm afraid to ask what the questions were. I mean, theoretically, yeah, no matter what, they're going to make a case that people were not necessarily predetermined on what they thought about this, no matter what jury they get. But who knows? We're talking about Massachusetts here. They're really, really, really liberal. And we all know how liberals think about the whole plight of Islam. Terrorist sympathizers. I miss the 50s, even though I wasn't alive then. I miss it. The McCarthyism. They're actually making that look nice. Really? Because this is such the polar opposite. Maybe because of McCarthyism, I'm to the point where I want to bang my head against the wall, because instead of responding to this situation that we have, like they did back then, they are bending over backwards to try to be nice. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe McCarthyism was there and now they don't want to revisit it, so they're going to do the absolute opposite. I'm sorry, maybe they could have come up with something in the middle, like a sensible response that basically said, yeah, if you're known to be reading all of, well, I better be careful here because, I'm guilty of this, but if you're reading all of the extremist information out there on the interwebs, maybe we really don't want you here, complaining about the whole NSA watching over us. Now, I would hope that they would offer an exemption for individuals that are legitimately looking at this stuff because, well, we write about it. In other words, we don't agree with these people, but we need to know what the heck they're doing. I don't know. But to understand exactly how deep it's gotten, I have a little rant coming against an institution in Durham, North Carolina. Duke University. They are going to have the Muslim call to prayer chanted every Friday at Duke University. I didn't stutter. I'm wondering, and I'm not going to look it up because I honestly don't care. Okay? Now, the university was founded by Methodists and Quakers. And Quakers arguably are some of the most tolerant individuals out there, or at least that's their story, and they're sticking to it. I reside in the Quaker state and have a few laws on the books that reflect those views. But I'm not so sure they would be really happy with this one, especially given the antagonistic way that liberal institutions like Duke tend to view other more traditional religions, ironically enough, like the Methodists. But we're told that, they do ring the bells whenever Christian services are commencing. However, the people who are giving kudos to Duke for doing this, regardless of what Duke says, are the very people that will back the Freedom from Religion Foundation every opportunity they get. They want to remove the cross. They do not want the nativity scene out, and you better not call it Christmas. It has to be winter holiday. Seriously, folks, come on now. Religious pluralism. No. Religious pluralism as long as you're not Christian. Tell the truth. Please, quit being so high-handed, ridiculous, hateful. However you want to cut it. I mean, really. Come on now. You're going to play nice with Muslims because you're afraid of them. This isn't about religious pluralism. You don't want a target painted on you. That's all there is to it. Give me a break. It is ridiculous. Oh, and it's a good thing the school no longer resides where it was founded, because, it was in the town of Trinity. Wow. This is filed under whether you believe in that Christian God or not. If you had this school still existing in Trinity, you'd better be wondering whether or not you'd be going to hell. Yeah, I said it. Oh, well. I just painted a target on myself. Not that that's any different from any other day. And of course, Franklin Graham came out against it. On the Google Plus, terrified liberal professors at Duke University announced ... Yeah, we don't have to go into that. We don't have to explain. Just said it. Please, be honest. Try. At least a little. This isn't about pluralism. This is about saving your own collective asses. That's all it is. You do not want to be perceived as somebody who isn't going to bend over backwards and do what the Muslims want. Now, I've got news for you. I'm still trying to figure this out. Maybe they don't have a history department at Duke. Maybe they don't. Turn the clock back. The potato famine. Ireland. Masses of Irish people come here to America. And what do you see signs in the window saying? Irish need not apply. Civil War. You go out to Gettysburg. There are piles of monuments to Irish brigades. Why is that? Because when they initially came here, before they assimilated, pay attention to that A word, they did exactly what Muslims do here now. And that's what every immigrant group did. This is why the city of Pittsburgh has Polish Hill. Well, that's where the Poles went to live when they first came to Pittsburgh off the boat. However, while there are still some relative remnants of what Polish Hill was, Polish social clubs, Polish churches, when you go through the names, well, we don't have the phone book anymore, but if you would go and get a list from the United States Postal Service, or if you went through the tax records in that region, and they had the last names of the individuals there, the proliferation of Polish names is no longer the case. Why? Because the people who came here learned the language, learned the culture, kept little bits of their own, which we're all thankful for in our own ways. But they assimilated. They changed to fit in with society. But this whole multiculturalism, how's that working for you, France, by the way? You go and give Muslims free reign over certain portions of your country, and now the police can't even go there. They're starting to do that here in small little pockets. I've got news for you folks. This doesn't work. And let's be honest. Let's be really, really honest with ourselves here. The people who came to this country up until recently, very recently, had a basic desire to leave troubles that they had at home behind them. It was a new start. It was a new opportunity to build something better. And they did it. That is how this nation grew. That is how this nation became the biggest, the best at just about everything. It wasn't multiculturalism that did it. It was a group of multiple cultures working together for the common desire to build a new life. But that's gone now. Why do people come here now? We have Muslims coming to this country. Is it to escape or is it to conquer? Because those are the two options, folks. Escape or conquer. Well, the ones who came to escape are like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and they don't want her speaking in liberal institutions because she's, well, politically incorrect. So that means that this administration, the liberals, are promoting people that wish to conquer us from within. And that would be the good reason why I started comparing the whole situation to the McCarthy era. Because back then we were desperately terrified of the concept of communists coming to this country and getting into power and destroying our nation from within through the proliferation of communism. Wow, that was a good time. We were actually trying to protect, granted it went over the top and got completely out of control and turned into a witch hunt, and it was fueled by fear. But they were trying to protect our way of life, our freedom. Now they're telling us, no, you don't have the freedom to say that you don't agree with certain groups of people, especially when they have a basic desire to turn us into them. That's not how it works here. That's not how it ever worked here until now. And the same could be said of individuals coming from south of the border. Because the insular communities that they create, they don't tend to fall apart. They keep them. It is like they moved Central America and Mexico into the U.S. in small little pocket communities all over the place, or not so small pocket communities. Really? And we're not sitting there saying, well, you should learn the language because, oh, well, we haven't declared English to be our official language. There's a fine line between tolerance and handing over the keys. And the trade-off should have been from the very beginning. You can come to America. You're welcome. However, it was a choice to come here. You are choosing to leave behind what you were. Some of what you believe in and what you want to do or what you think should be done with your life can continue. However, the things that are incompatible with our way of life aren't going to happen here. That didn't happen. We have female genital mutilation in the U.S. Could someone please show me? I really do want, well, Nancy Pelosi said, you have to pass it to know what's in it. Could someone please show me in the ACA exactly where female genital mutilation is covered? Because it must be very important to this administration to have it. Because they are not insisting that barbaric rituals be left behind. And yeah, I can pick on the Jews for that too. I'm sorry. But de Blasio, you're insane. You're having an argument over a public health issue with Orthodox Jews. And you're going to hang this all on a piece of paper where parents are supposed to go and sign. And by the way, the Orthodox Jews aren't making them sign and aren't telling them. But that's beside the point. And they won't, just saying. But, yeah, you have babies that are in desperate danger of ending up dying from herpes because of a small portion of the Orthodox Jewish ritual of circumcision. And you're talking about paper. Grow up. Under normal circumstances, yes, I'm going to stand on the side of the Jews. However, when part of your ritual involves sucking blood off of a baby's penis, thus leaving the baby open to infections like herpes, and possibly killing the child because, babies can't handle that virus. I'm sorry. That part of your ritual is incompatible with American society because we have a vested interest in preventing children from getting diseases like herpes. Just saying. This is important to us. It is a public health issue. We don't like the idea of having the CDC go and say, any children died of this disease. Women end up having to go through cesarean section if there is any thought in the doctor's mind that she would spread this disease to an infant. But you're going to go and give it to a baby by putting your mouth on an open wound. No. No, that's intentionally doing it. Really. Come on now. Stop. I understand you hold this dear and everything else. If you really do, I hate to say this, go somewhere where they allow it. And de Blasio, please stop playing with paper. Man up and just say, it can't be done. It's illegal. We're sorry. We want to respect your beliefs, but your beliefs do not outweigh the health and safety of infant children. It just doesn't. And this goes for, Muslims too. Female genital mutilation. Back to that again. On what planet do we ever think that could ever end up happening here in this country? I understand it's done underground. It's not done by legitimate doctors with licenses in this country. At least as far as I know, it hasn't. If it ever does happen, the first thing that I want to see is that the government in question, the state government, where this doctor resides, immediately revokes the license. I'm sorry, multiculturalism does not work in the U.S. We already know this. We went for how many years without it? We were working well. It doesn't work to bring all of one's culture into this country and try to carry it on. You have to surrender something to become an American. See, this is why a lot of conservatives go and say, we don't like hyphenated America. This is it, folks, right here. It is not about telling people, we want to change you completely. No. But we have some basic standards. We don't find that individuals deserve a death penalty for adultery. That's not us. We don't feel that women should be mutilated to make sure that they stay faithful and have no interest in sex. That's not us. And we don't believe that the penalty for disagreeing with someone's belief system is death. That's not us. We don't believe that disrespecting the deity that someone worships deserves a death penalty. That's not us. If it was us, you know what? There would be no Freedom from Religion Foundation, because the Christians would have killed them all by now. Because how much more disrespectful can you get than to sit there and tell Christians, you have no right to show that you have your faith in any way, shape, or form in the public square? We don't have school prayer, but we have schools leaving special situations, making special arrangements for Muslim students to engage in their prayers. Really? And this is fine. We say that the state cannot recognize a specific religion, but yet we have states going and putting in special sinks in state-owned properties for washing the feet because that's what they do in Islam. Really? Really? That's your tax dollars, folks. You're paying for individuals to be able to follow Islam. But at the same time, you're definitely not allowed to say anything about your Christian faith in the public square. And they're going to tell you that the Nutcracker is going to convert people to Christianity, so your children can't go see it because it has a Christmas tree on the stage. And you can't have your children singing Christmas carols because there are no longer Christmas concerts. They are holiday concerts. I don't know, folks. I mean, the messages that we're getting from all of this is maybe Christians need to start strapping bombs onto themselves and crying out that you must respect the Lord Jesus Christ. Maybe is that what it takes? Please, liberals, explain this to me. I want to know. Those of you, I know I don't have liberals listening to this, so this is a good question for you all to pose to the liberals out there that think that this is such a wonderful situation that we've gotten ourselves into. I'm not suggesting that Christians should go out there and strap bombs to themselves, of course. That's ridiculous. We're already considered extreme. And that's something for after this. But seriously, is this the standard? Do you have to act out to the point where society is absolutely terrified of what you are going to do in order for you to be respected? In order for your beliefs to be respected? Or just in general, have society leave you the hell alone? And not nitpick and say, oh, but you shouldn't have that out there because it's Christian. And by the way, yeah, this whole thing has gotten way beyond what it ever should have been, because with the whole school prayer ruling years ago, we muddied the water. The First Amendment does not guarantee that all government entities, from the Fed all the way down to the local level, must not recognize any religion as the, quote, state religion. No, this only applied to the federal Congress and the federal government. That's all. And it was done to prevent a repeat of the Church of England. And on the opposite side, it was done to prevent the government from stopping specific religions from existing in this country, provided that they weren't doing anything like I've been talking about that breaks other laws that already exist. You know what I mean? Okay. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour, so I'll talk a little bit more about extremism and exactly how much free speech they really do have over in France. Be right back, folks.
This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 15th. The House of Representatives voted Wednesday to overturn President Obama's executive actions on immigration, also overturning a 2012 directive that safeguarded immigrants who illegally came to the United States as children. The vote passed by a margin of 236 to 191 votes. Speaker of the House John Boehner praised Republicans, saying, quote, "Let me thank all my colleagues who have worked to put this bill together. Today I rise, and the House rises, to support and defend our Constitution." Congressional Democrats were highly critical of the bill, and New York Congressman Steve Israel said it was an overtly political move. The immigration measure is an amendment to the Department of Homeland Security's funding legislation, which provides $40 billion to fund the Department of Homeland Security until September, and includes spending for cybersecurity operations and the Secret Service. President Obama has vowed to veto the bill if it passes the Senate and reaches his desk. The FBI has arrested an Ohio man for allegedly plotting an attack on the United States Capitol. The man, reportedly inspired by the Islamic State, hoped to detonate a series of explosives targeted at specific lawmakers. The suspect, Christopher Lee Cornell, is also known as Raheel Maras Ubdeya, and was arrested Wednesday on charges of attempting to kill a U.S. government official. Cornell also planned to shoot bystanders and officials in Washington, D.C., and his arrest comes the same week as another man was indicted over alleged threats to poison and murder Speaker of the House John Boehner. Broadband for America is challenging President Obama's latest push for accessible and affordable Internet for all, saying in a statement that President Obama is, quote, "risking the success we have witnessed by pushing for a reclassification of broadband as a Title II public utility." Broadband for America is challenging President Obama's latest push for accessible and affordable Internet for all as part of the net neutrality program, saying in a statement that President Obama is risking the success we have witnessed by pushing for a reclassification of broadband as a Title II public utility. Broadband for America says reclassifying broadband as a Title II utility would mirror Europe's failed overregulated utility-style model, resulting in less investment, less innovation, slower Internet speeds, and higher prices. A Progressive Policy Institute study shows, for example, Iowans would face nearly $50 in annual new wireline fees and over $50 annually in new broadband fees. In a speech on the issue, Obama mentioned executive action, indicating he may intend to bypass the legislative branch and make net neutrality law by executive order or memo. Senator Ted Cruz is the newly appointed chair of the Subcommittee on Space, Science, and Competitiveness, and a press release by the senator has called for a refocus of investment on the hard sciences and not, quote, political distractions that are extraneous to NASA's mandate. The press release also called for the U.S. to work with and lead international partners in space exploration, and that the subcommittee will take up reauthorization of the Commercial Space Launch Act to foster an atmosphere of innovation and competition as one of its first orders of business. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 15th.
Hi, this is Jason Dibbler, co-host of Q with a View, heard every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on FTR Radio. Right now, FTR needs your help in making the jump into the 21st century through some long-needed equipment upgrades. This is where you, the great and loyal listeners of Great Conservative Talk Radio, can really lend a hand. Visit GoFundMe.com/helpupgradeFTR right now. Your assistance, no matter how small, will help to ensure that FTR can continue to offer some of the best conservative radio on the interwebs. Your donation of $50 gets you up to 60 seconds of airtime on FTR radio 4 times. For $100, your ad will run 10 times, or if you don't want to run an ad, you can have 30 minutes of FTR airtime to talk about anything you want. There are other thank yous for other levels of giving as well, but those are some pretty great offers. We hope you'll consider making a small donation to help keep quality conservative talk radio alive and thriving on the internet. Visit GoFundMe.com/helpupgradeFTR today. Thank you.
Hi, this is Steve Hamilton, station director at AltCon Radio, and that sultry voice you're listening to is Liz Harrison on The Liz Harrison Show.
We're back. And the U.S. is not the only one guilty of this bending over to Islam thing. You think that there's free press over in France? No. 2008, Brigitte Bardot, you know, the woman who brought us the bikini. She wrote in a quarterly newsletter of her animal rights organization something opposed to Islam. And they fined her. Over $100,000. Wasn't that kind? And that wasn't a lawsuit. That was a fine from the French government. So, and to make out like France has backed Charlie, you know, they're sort of hypocritical when they put up the Je suis Charlie signs. Because they haven't been very kind to that publication. And, you know, they haven't helped them when they've ended up in legal difficulties. If anything, they've made them worse. So, this is a worldwide issue. And it's getting worse. The Oxford University Press, in a mind-numbing step, has decided to ban pigs and sausages from children's books because they don't want to offend Muslims or Jews. The Jews are sort of an afterthought, I think. The last time I checked, there aren't very many Jews that get upset about the concept of pigs in children's books, although we did have the Muslim woman who got upset with a book with a pig in it and made a big stink about it on a bus. Really? Seriously? Come on now, folks. You're entitled to be whatever you are and not... You don't eat pig, fine. I'm not going to understand you. Bacon is God or something like that. No, I'm not going there. But yeah, bacon is a gift from God. There you go. But seriously, I'm not going to force you to eat it. I'm not. And if you have gotten to the point where you are offended by the actions of others that don't hold the same beliefs as you do, there's something very wrong. Just saying. It's ridiculous, really. If you have to act out in violence to protect your faith, there's something very wrong. If you have to file grievances to protect your faith, something is very wrong. Yes, Christians do at this point, but not really. Basically, we're in the defensive mode. We have grievances filed against us, and then we stand up and fight. But we don't start the fight. You know what I mean? There's a difference here. You know, and I've said it before. Folks, if you have anything in your town that is even remotely close to old, that has a cross or something on it that the Freedom from Religion Foundation folks would get upset about, well, yeah, you need to go and declare it an historical monument, because then they can't get after you. Because, you know, once it's declared an historical monument, it has a value to society beyond whatever religious thing it has on it. It is historical, which, by the way, a lot of the things that they've gone after are that way. And as for the military, they got upset about a makeshift cross. How they even knew it was there, I'm still trying to figure out. Somebody had to tell them, because the place where it was somewhere where the public can't go. Granted, yes, it is technically public lands, but it was military land, and nobody in the military told the soldiers to do it. It wasn't go up that hill and put up a cross. No, they did it on their own. It was a memorial that they created for themselves. So, does this mean that the Freedom from Religion Foundation is also going to start going after people who put up makeshift memorials where people die? Just saying. You know, it's a personal, private act of the individual. They choose to do it. Nobody gave them an order to do it. The government didn't pay for it. And, yeah, I know, some of it was made with government property, but they were dumpster diving to do it. So now government garbage is still considered government property. Great. See, now we have even more stuff to stick in really big warehouses. Remember when Al Gore was saying, oh, we're storing stuff from World War II. We need to get rid of this. We didn't, of course, but hey, maybe that's what they're going to start putting in those big warehouses. We're going to start constructing warehouses to store garbage, because it's still government property. We need to keep it because it's very important. Just saying. Lovely, lovely liberal logic. Gotta love it. Anyway, onward and upward to, I started out with Duke University. Let's go pick on the University of Virginia, because Ash Scow says we should. See, I have breached the point. I'm going to start doing things simply because other people tell me to do so. And when it happens to be Ash Scow, it's a great idea. Just saying. If you're not reading her on the Washington Examiner, and if you're not following her on Twitter at Ash Scow, ASHESCHOW, you're doing it wrong. Everybody remembers the Phi Kappa Psi. You know, the fake rape story that made it to the Rolling Stone and proved yet again the Rolling Stone is not an example of wonderful journalism, as if anybody needed to be reminded of that. Local police found no substantive basis for the allegation of rape that supposedly occurred at Phi Kappa Psi. But they still want them to sign contracts. And they're more stringent than they have been before. Really? Come on now, people. People, we need to try to relearn the word responsibility. Okay? Now, Ash writes, the implication is that even if no one at the fraternity actually raped a woman, they still deserve to be punished because the university doesn't like fraternity parties. Imagine the outcry if women who had been sexually assaulted were punished en masse for underage drinking. Or consider the reaction when women are asked about their past sexual histories when testifying about their sexual assault. Seriously? No, it isn't right to rape women. Does rape occur more often when women are silly enough to get drunk at frat parties? Possibly. Give me a break. Really? This is getting ridiculous. Because, see, the bottom line at this point is it's getting to the point, and this goes for the NFL too, because we just had a new sex scandal come out. Bookies out in Las Vegas, they're probably going to start considering this too, where the NFL is concerned. But now it's getting to the point where on our campuses, all it takes is somebody to cry rape. And the schools go into psychotic mode and decide that it's a good idea to try to take absolute control of all of the men on campus. Particularly when, oh my God, they all live together in a house. Really? No. You want to stem the situation with rape, especially on college campuses? You need to start teaching women, particularly, a few things. Number one, don't get drunk at parties, etc. If you're going to get drunk, sit in your room alone and do it, or sit in a room with a group of women who you know have absolutely no lesbian leanings, because, you know, God forbid we start having those accusations start flying, and, you know, get drunk. But don't do it out in mixed company. Why am I saying that? Because when you're drunk, you may or may not remember what the heck you said the next day. Or you might not remember what you did. Yes, I am making the argument that some college rape cases that involve alcohol may have been quasi-consensual. Never mind the fact that, you know, and I'm not getting to the other side yet. So don't get ready to get the pitchforks and everything yet against me. I'm just pointing out that this is a two-way street. Women need to stop being stupid. They need to be responsible. They need to not place themselves in a position where they might make other people think that they are saying yes to something that they would say no to if they were stone cold sober. Solution to the problem, don't be drunk. At least not in situations where you are around people who you don't trust entirely. That's it. You want to get drunk around friends that you're really close to and you trust completely. Don't do it around a bunch of strangers. I know, it's more fun. Sorry. Whatever. But on the other side, men. If the woman had a drink, the answer is no. Don't even ask. The answer is no. That's a simple solution to the problem, don't you think? Then there is no argument later. Then there is, oh my God, I can't believe I did that and I'm going to call rape now. No, you don't have that happen if you don't have sex with women that had even one drink. Just don't do it. Then nobody can say that you forced yourself on them. Don't do it. It's not a question of no means no. If there's any alcohol in her veins, blood going through, if she drank a beer, don't even ask. If she doesn't say no, she should. So don't even bother. So there, guys. Yeah, I'm picking on both sides. It's ridiculous. It's gotten out of control. People need to grow up. I know they're still in college. They're still arguably children to a certain extent. They talk about people being irresponsible on campus. They're college students. They will be irresponsible. The best thing you can teach is the answer is no. If the person has been drinking or is otherwise because of drugs, whatever, it doesn't matter. If they are not stone cold sober, the answer is no. Done. This isn't rocket science. They make it more difficult and they go and sit there and say, oh, we want to restrict the fraternities, whatever. Anyway. Oh, I try really hard to be patient with stupidity. It doesn't happen. I can't do it. Oh my. It's just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. We try to be more tolerant, etc., and it just doesn't happen. The problem is that we're blaming all the wrong people. Anyway, on to a brilliant list. I'm not going to be able to go through all of it because I don't have enough time. But if you're not reading Zero Hedge, you're doing it wrong. Again. Tyler Durden on the 13th went and put up an article. Obama declares war on, quote, extremism. Are you an extremist? This is all backed up by government documents, by the way. You can go and read them all if you really want to because he gave you links to them. But there are 72 types of Americans. Last night, a very hysterical conversation about this occurred with @RedSteez, Stephen Miller, on the Right Wars. If you want to catch that in the archives at Vigilant Liberty Radio, yeah, I strongly suggest it. It was very amusing. Some of the not necessarily on the list reasons why you're an extremist were particularly amusing. Anyway, number 1, those that talk about individual liberties. Number 2, those that advocate for states' rights. Number 3, this one could get liberals and conservatives alike, those that want, quote, to make the world a better place. Yeah. Quote, the colonists who sought to free themselves from British rule. So, if you're talking about our founding fathers, you are an extremist. Anti-gay, anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, the patriot movement. Opposition to equal rights for gays and lesbians. Members of the Family Research Council. Members of the American Family Association. Can't make this stuff up. Now, I don't have a problem with them going and saying that the conspiracy theorists are extremists. They probably are. But, hey, that's just me. I don't like them. Anyway, anyone that complains about bias. I presume that means bias in the media, too. Anyone that is frustrated with mainstream ideologies. Oh, and if you visit extremist websites and blogs, but I'm not sure exactly what isn't considered extremist in that case. Those that are anti-global. Those that are reverent of individual liberty. Anyone that is anti-abortion, anti-Catholic, or anti-nuclear. Right-wing extremists. Oh, and this one should really get you. Returning veterans. Yes, our military is full, chock full of extremists. Oh, and just so that we cover everything, those that have a negative view of the United Nations, anyone that is opposed to the collection of federal income taxes. Wow, that probably covers just about everybody, left, right, it doesn't matter. We all hate the IRS. Let's see. And on voting, if you voted for Ron Paul, Chuck Baldwin, or Bob Barr, you might be an extremist. And if you're flying the Gadsden flag, you might be an extremist. I wonder if that counts for the live snake that they started putting out there saying, go ahead, tread on me. I liked that, by the way, because the Gadsden flag, it's sort of, it doesn't get the message across, but you put a nice, nasty looking snake and say, go ahead, try. That says it more. It really does. Because I think that people don't get what it means. I really don't. The flag doesn't deliver the message anymore. So, go to Zero Hedge. Read about this. It's really frightening in a lot of ways. And yes, there is a link. Oh, and of course the last one is evangelical Christians. So, yeah, you're all extremists. You are a danger to our society. You're going to be the end of the United States. Don't you all feel guilty now? For the record, I think that I fit for about 50 of them in one way or another. I think I'm going to wear that as a badge of honor. I might have to get in touch with this author and say, we need to come up with extremist badges, 1 through 72. That you could put on a profile in social media or something. So, like creating degrees of extremism. And the one that wins the day is the one who has it to the 72nd degree. You got them all. I'd like to meet that person because some of these things are, sort of diametrically opposed. But who knows? Maybe that person does exist. Could be. Anyway, it's getting close to that time. So, at 2 o'clock Eastern, for those that are listening live or remotely close to live, the right mics are on here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. They're cool guys. You want to listen to them. They're very amusing. They put up with my crap, so they get bonus points. Anyway, and this evening it is Thursday. That means Dustin Hoyt is coming to you out of Texas, America Our Way, at 10 p.m. Eastern. And Thursday we do have a podcast being released. At least I think we are. I'm not sure. This is filed under I'm not the program director, so there should be one out today. We're also at the beginning of the year, sort of, kind of, so some of the shows have been getting back into gear. Anyway, that would come out at 9 p.m. before Dustin. Otherwise, 11 o'clock tonight, there must be pie on the Right War. Jason Pye, Freedom Works Night, simulcast on FTR and VLR. And, of course, it will also be coming to you on K98talk.com on Monday and Tuesday nights, I believe. So, yeah. Gotta love that K98talk.com. And other than that, gotta have you back here some other time on Vigilant Liberty Radio. I'm going now to build myself a bunker because I have no doubt, because of some of the things I've said today, I'm about to be hearing that incoming whistle from missile strikes or something. I've got to go hide from all of the Muslims and probably some Jews. I'm sorry, but, I used to be in healthcare, so the whole religion never trumps the health of children, especially since I actually did work at a children's hospital for a while. So, yeah, not winning points with me, folks. Sorry. Normally I'll back you, but, yeah, no making children sick. No, sorry. Not worth it to me. Have a good one, folks. Talk to y'all later.